If you find that you often get stuck in stressing, obsessing, or worrying about something terrible that maybe, might, or could happen at some point in the future. Maybe it's later today, maybe it's tomorrow, maybe it's in a week, a month, a year, 10 years, but you find yourself often in this loop of worry. And as much as you tell yourself to just get over it, to just stop it, it's not working. And the fact that you can't just make it stop is even making you feel worse. And then you might even be worrying about the fact that you can't just make yourself stop worrying. If any of that sounds even remotely familiar, then you are in the exact right place. In this talk, I'm going to teach you about the real reasons why you are getting stuck in worry that are not about you being a weird or broken or flawed human being. This talk is going to make a whole lot of things make a whole lot more sense and create more space for understanding and compassion for yourself. And those insights are going to turn into the opening and ability to start taking constructive action to getting out of and breaking this habit. But first, if you're new here, welcome to our incredible little corner on the internet. Take a second, introduce yourself in the comment section below. If you are one of my shifters, it is always good to have you here. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Button's about right down there. You can get notified when videos come out. If you get something out of this video, then like the video. That would be really helpful. Either way, my name is Kristina, and I am a registered clinical therapist, a researcher, a coach, and the creator of my membership community, the Shift Society, where we are taking this work that we are talking about here, taking it deeper. You are being guided and supported through learning how to truly and lastingly manage your mind and emotions so that you can feel better and think better and live better and have better for the short time that we are on this planet. You can get more information about the Shift Society in the description. I help heart-centered humans break through the crap that is holding them back. And worry really is one of those things that can hold us back, can keep us stuck because we almost even exhaust ourselves getting stuck in these cycles of worry that we don't have any energy for anything else, or we are spending so much time worrying that we use up the time that we would have had to do something else with sitting and worrying so much. So this is one that we want to really nip in the bud and be able to work through. Now, as I said, there are real reasons why you are worrying, and for all intents and purposes, they are actually good reasons. Because what we know about human beings and about the human brain is that all behavior is purposeful. And although worrying is not necessarily a behavior, worry is a set of thoughts that come into our brain about something that maybe might or could happen at some point in the future that could be terrible, awful, painful, or difficult. And then continuing to think those thoughts, continuing to get stuck in it, that is a behavior. So the thoughts will come in, and then us continuing to ruminate on them, to perseverate on them, to obsess about them, that is a behavior. And then it often even leads to different kinds of controlling behaviors or avoidance behaviors. But that's a whole other talk for a whole other day. Today I want to talk to you more about the subconscious reasons why you are worrying and what you are getting out of it. Because as I said, all behavior is purposeful. So there is a purpose to your worrying. Your brain is trying to actually do something helpful for you. Because what we also know about the human brain is that its main goal is to keep you alive. So our brains are always trying to move us towards pleasure and away from pain or danger. So then, why are you worrying? Why are you getting stuck in that worrying? And it's not because you are a sucker for punishment. So the first subconscious reason why you worry is because your brain is trying to protect you. If you can anticipate something terrible or bad or dangerous or harmful, if you can think about that and anticipate that happening, then you can prepare to deal with it, or you can avoid it. So if there is a real threat, if you are living in a cave, like our ancestors were living in a cave, and you didn't have houses and fences and, subdivisions, you lived out in the wild in tribes and in communities, and you were a lot more vulnerable to wild animals and to the elements and to opposing tribes, then you were going to be under more threat on a more continuous basis. So anticipating a herd of elephants or a tribe of lions, or what is it called? What is a group of lions called? A pride. It's a pride of lions is coming to invade your camp. Anticipating that and thinking about that happening, and then taking the appropriate measures to protect yourself and your family and the rest of your community is going to be helpful. If you see that there's dark clouds off in the distance, then you can worry about a storm coming and know that that's actually going to be a bigger threat than it is if you have a roof over your head and four walls around you. If you didn't have that, then seeing those dark clouds would be something to worry about, and then something that worry would propel the action to take shelter, to, protect yourself, keep yourself safe from that. Now, the problem is most of the things that we worry about now are not impending threats. They are not actual realistic threats. They are things that might or could happen, however unlikely, but our brain is kind of misfiring in anticipation because ultimately your brain just wants to keep you safe. However, in its attempt to keep you from dying, it is ultimately preventing you from living. The next subconscious reason why you are getting stuck in worry is because our human brains have this really weird kind of private logic that if I worry about something terrible happening, it can't happen. Because ultimately, bad things only happen when we are least expecting it. So if I can expect it, then it won't happen. And think about it. Think about how many things you have worried about. You have spent a lot of time stressing and obsessing and worrying about, and they haven't happened. And somewhere in your brain, it logs that as this kind of weird, twisted proof that you worrying about it stopped it from happening. I don't know if it's a little bit superstitious or if it's just kind of our brain's attempt to get some semblance of control when we feel vulnerable in a vulnerable world where it's true that bad things can happen and they do happen. And so we're trying to get something to help us feel a little bit more secure, even if when I say it out loud, it sounds absolutely wild, but I have definitely found myself doing this one where I think about, if I'm on a plane and I think about, okay, the plane could crash, or, the plane could go down, or there could be like a hijacker on the plane. And I'm like, okay, now that I've anticipated all the terrible things that could happen on this flight, I think we're going to be okay, because those kinds of things only happen when you're not expecting it. It only happens by surprise. And because I've already anticipated it, it won't be a surprise, so it can't happen. And once I kind of took a step back and thought about that, I was like, wow, that is so interesting that my brain is doing that. But so far, bad things haven't happened that I've anticipated, so maybe I'm going to keep doing it. But in all honesty, ask yourself, have I ever done that? Have I ever sat and thought about all the terrible things that could happen and then almost made myself feel more relaxed because I've thought, now that I've anticipated all the terrible things, they can't happen because the element of surprise or something unexpected has been taken out of it. So secretly, I win. But it is a really honest reason why our brains will worry, because we think that we are protecting ourselves in some way. And now the third subconscious reason why we can get stuck in worry is because worry is often, as we talked about, these repetitive thoughts that are around something dangerous or painful or difficult or awful that maybe might or could happen at some point in the future. And when we get ourselves kind of preoccupied with these repetitive thoughts, it's a way to subconsciously avoid having to look more deeply at our own feelings of vulnerability, around our own sort of deeper fears of loss or ultimately being out of control. That this idea that we have full control over anything is an illusion that we have all bought into, and often think that if I can worry about it, if I can control things more, if I can, micromanage, if I can over-prepare, then I can avoid having to feel vulnerable. I can avoid having to feel a deep sense of loss or pain or hurt. And so if I get stuck in this worry, I don't have to think more deeply about my own ultimate vulnerability as a human being on this planet. It can prevent us from having to deal with more difficult feelings. So we kind of deal with these more superficial, uncomfortable feelings in order to avoid these really big, deeper feelings that can be a lot more uncomfortable. But if we are willing to face ourselves, if we are willing to face our own vulnerability, if we are willing to truly embrace the fact that we have no real control over anything, and that control is just a big illusion that we tell ourselves to make ourselves feel a little bit better, but really just embracing that I have no full control over anything. And so instead of worrying and stressing about that, because there's nothing I can do about that other than, being reasonably prepared or reasonably kind of safe, but there's ultimately nothing I can do to get any kind of full control. And so how about I just pay more attention to what's happening now, what is available to me now, the joy I can experience now, the goodness that is in front of me now, the love and the belonging and the connection and the success and the joy that is available to me now, instead of worrying about losing that through something at some point. The fourth subconscious reason why we get stuck in worry, and this is a really simple one, but a really powerful one, is that worry is often a learned behavior. When I am working with clients or working with people in the Shift Society and they are bringing up stuff around worry, my question is always, which one of your parents was the worrier? And more often than not always, but I would say 95% of the time, they're like, oh, it was my mom, or oh, it was my dad, or oh, it was both of them. Right? And they really think about things that one or both of their parents would say that would be kind of anxiety laced, or things that they would do to kind of try to control things. It'd be kind of like fluttering and fretting around, or they'd be saying things like, don't do that, or be careful, or what if this happens, or, and in this like really kind of anxious, like worried thing, or, overprotective, or always sort of pointing out all the terrible dangers that are out there in the world. And then obviously then you'd learn to worry if you were taught to worry, or even if not even overtly taught to worry, if you just observe those behaviors in them. We are so malleable at those impressionable ages during our formative years. That's why they're called our formative years, because we're forming how to think about ourselves, others, life, and the world. And our parents, for most of us, a parent or whoever your primary caregiver or caregivers were, those are the people that you are watching. Those are the people you are learning from. Those are the people you are absorbing from. And so you learn to worry by osmosis. Those are the big four. And now what do we do about this? Your first step is to notice. Notice what kind of worrying you have been doing. Bring that subconscious worry into your conscious awareness. The first step towards constructive change is insight. And so taking the next few days to pay attention to worry and then going a little bit deeper. What am I worried about? What's coming up for me? Where is this coming from? What do I think that this is going to do for me? And just start to develop that curiosity. You can journal about it. If journaling is your thing, you can just write down a few thoughts. You can spend some time just in some deeper reflection if you're not really a writer and that's not your thing. But just spend a little bit of time with that, understanding that worry is a set of thoughts. And so if you want to not get so caught up in those worrisome thoughts, it's going to start with learning how to unattach from your thoughts in a mindful way. And now the good news is that you can learn right now exactly how to stop getting so caught up in all of these worry-based thoughts that are coming into your brain with my 10-minute guided mindfulness audio exercise that is available to you in the comments section below. It is totally free. It is totally for you. The link is there, so make sure you grab that. And now let me know, how has creating this insight given you more understanding, more curiosity, more compassion, and less self-criticism and self-judgment for those worry-based thoughts that have been coming into your brain so much? Let me know what you got from this. And also just let me know as well which one of these really resonated with you. Which one of them, upon a bit of reflection, are you like, oh, that makes sense. That is, when I think about it deeper, that is why I have been getting so stuck in worry. Let me know in the comments. Grab the 10-minute guided mindfulness exercise, and then in the next talk, we are going to be going much more deeply into specific strategies that you can use to start breaking those subconscious cycles of worry. So make sure that you are subscribed so that you get notifications when that talk comes out. And if you got something out of this talk, if I could ask you to like the video, that would be amazing. And as always, so good to have you here. Take good care of yourselves. Take good care of those around you. Until next time.